It allows the people that are watching later on to be able to see. So anyway, we're gonna go right ahead and get into it. So far, we have Josh is in the building, is in the room right now, and we're going to discuss what it means to have deliverability for your marketing campaigns. Recently, I had a question come up over the last weekend where I had a particular person that had issues with their emails not going to Yahoo. And what I realized after being diagnosing it is that they didn't have the proper records on their domain, their .com or whatever it is, that's going to allow them the ability to be able to send messages to email service providers, or as you might hear me refer to it as ESPs. So we're going to dive into that in setting up the records. On the back end of that, we're going to start talking about content strategy. This is where Josh is in the building, and he's going to be talking about that. Keith may also join. He's also the co-host of the Office Hours. That's going to give us a different perspective on the marketing side of things and give his insights. But we're going to let people kind of join here in a little bit as I continue to talk. So one of the things I want to talk about is what you see here. Here, is it here? Here. There we go. Here, DKIM, SPF, and DMARC. These are the things that you need to have on your domain so that your emails would go out properly. Now, if you're using a service like Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook, you name it, and it's a service that's widely used or just given away as a free service for email, then you don't have to worry about that. But if you're in business and you have a custom domain name, then you need to worry about these things here. What am I going to get it right? These things here. This reverse camera stuff is weird to me. But I'll get used to it. But you need to have your DKIM, your SPF, and your DMARC together. So I'm going to talk about a little bit about what those are here. So SPF stands for Sender Policy Framework. So the SPF allows you to specify which mail servers are permitted to send email on behalf of your domain. So it's a really simple thing that we're going to go into in a little bit. We're just going to, all you need is just this little text document to put it in a text record, put it on your domain, and then you'll open up that portion of it. Now, the DKIM is the one that's a little bit more difficult because the DKIM is a domain keys identified mail. Somebody join? Okay. Just V.
Veronica.
Veronica, you're
Yes.
you're feeding back somehow. Oh, there we go. All right. So the SPF. So we talked about SPF, right? SPF is a sender policy framework, right? Where the SPF basically, I'm gonna repeat it again since we had Veronica, and I specifically want to help her. SPF allows you to specify which mail servers are permitted to send email on behalf of your domain. DKIM is domain keys identified mail. DKIM is a little bit different because those are like key pairs. So some people might be familiar with the term benefits and features, right? So that for every feature, there's a benefit, or every benefit, there's a corresponding feature. That's like what key pairs are. In the technology world, you need to have this thing that means this thing, and you have to generate your DKIM key pairs. We'll talk about that later. Out of the three things, this is the most technical. And if you have GoDaddy, if you have Namecheap, if you have some of the bigger Squarespace now took over for Google domains. So if you have those servers or services as your domain name service or your DNS, they are going to be the ones that's going to be able to help you provide the domain key, DKIM key pairs. So if you just Google DKIM key pairs for Google, they probably already have it already built in. The one thing that most of them don't have is the SPF, and the SPF is the easiest thing to deal with. So DMARC is another record that you need to have on your domain. And DMARC stands for Domain-Based Message Authentication, Reporting, and Conformance. So DMARC uses SPF and DKIM to determine the authenticity of an email message. So where your SPF, if you need SPF in order for DMARC to work. So, like what I talked about over the weekend, when I saw an error message that said SPF is missing, probably the SPF could be there, but the DMARC is there. Because what the DMARC does is it basically goes and verifies that there is an SPF, which we go back to SPF meaning the sender policy framework. So what is the policy, or what are the permissions? What are the things that it needs to run back and forth? And raise your hand if I'm getting a little too technical. I'm going to try to keep checking in. But the SPF is the main thing because the DMARC runs off of that. And so basically the DMARC basically is looking to see what happens if certain rules are trespassed. And they want to know, where do you want us to send the report of why your email is not being, or why your email is either not being sent out or why you're not able to receive emails back. So, and that's just a really quick text file as well. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go into talking about why it's important to have these records, because it's a little bit more, it's a little deeper than just having the ability to email. Did you know that if your email was to get hacked and somebody started sending out emails, or you started sending out emails to a bunch of people and they start bouncing out, then you're going to drop, and they use the services like Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook, and the like, all the public email service providers. If you do that enough times, your email, your domain name, so your domain name, your .com will get basically a shadow banned, or actually you could lose your whole domain, and therefore your whole business could go down. So if you have a business, and like for me, the traffic.link is my main domain name, right? My secondary one is the trafficlink.com. And if I'm using the traffic.link to send out all my emails, and then they keep on flagging it as a spam, I eventually could lose access to my domain name altogether. And therefore, if all my business is going through my domain name, I'm out of business. So we want to watch how you're using that. Generally speaking, when you're setting up an email campaign, you go through what's called a warm-up session, right? I use a software called Instantly.ai that warms up your email so that when you're getting ready to send out bulk email, it's trusted already by the email service providers. So I'm gonna take a stop here because I know I just dropped major chunks of knowledge. So anybody have any questions? Is everything making sense?
I do.
Okay, go ahead, Veronica.
So, perfect example with me, and I sent you the screenshot. If Google domain is telling you this is the line you need to add, um, basically, once I add that set of commands, technically, then I'll be able to be back online.
Yes, yeah, that's technically what's going to happen. So when you get those records put under your domain, and that's exactly what's going to happen. So what we want to do real quick, if you don't mind, Veronica, you don't mind, we're going to go through some things. I want you to, if you don't feel comfortable doing this now, what other people are watching, please stay around afterwards, and I'll walk you through how to get those records in. But first of all, who is your current like domain host? Is it GoDaddy, Namecheap?
GoDaddy.
Okay. So, all right. So your GoDaddy should already have your DKIM. That's the one thing that's already there. What you probably don't have then is either your SPF or your DMARC records. So if on your own, if you could log in to your into your GoDaddy domain, you don't have to share your screen. Just go ahead and I can walk you there almost blind, but I'll show you where this information exists or where it resides. So who all do we have on? We got Keith on. We got Justin, Josh, myself. All right, and Anybody else here have ever dealt with this? I can tell you personally, I've dealt with this, especially with Gmail. I couldn't send out emails to Gmail for the longest time, and it was frustrating, like to a high level. A lot of it has to do with reputation, and so one of the key strategies I like to implement when I'm building out automations is what I call a single double opt in. What the single double opt in basically does is when you send out an email for someone, like say you have a free lead magnet, never give the person the free lead magnet on your site. Give them the free lead magnet through email. So when they go through and they opt in and they go and they say, okay, thank you, now check your email. When they go check their email and open up their email, and if you're gonna indicate or signal to the email service providers that your any email coming from this domain is valid. And I don't know why I chose the hard rocky road of choosing a domain name that ends with .link, because .link is, and by and large, is by and large people think .link is a spam, even though it's a legitimate TLD. Somebody's got comments. Let's see. The screen of it tells me the screen of numbers page where it tells me the screen of numbers. I don't know what that means. You're on mute, by the way.
There we go. I'm so sorry. So I'm at the area where it's telling me you need to add V equals SPF1 include, and it's giving me the directions,
Okay.
basically.
Perfect.
I just don't know where to put these numbers.
Okay, yeah. So let me break that down to you. So in the SPF record, there are only a few things that you need to put in there to make it valid. Okay. The first thing that you need to put in there is in the SPF, you need to put the V, right? The V basically equals the version, right? And the version could be whatever. The version could be today's date, right? With no spaces. 4/11/24. That's the version, right? That's just for later on down the road. Then you're gonna put in either your IP address or your email address. So whatever email you address, and then you're gonna be done with your SPF. Now you can also do an include flag, what's called an include flag, but basically you just put the word include with a colon, and then underscore SPF, and then whatever that is. And it should give you some instructions there. But just to keep it simple, just put V equals the date, and that'll be your SPF version date, and then put in your email address. And then that goes as it. Now, is it like are you going through a sort of like a template thing, or something that's guiding you to get to where you want to go?
I'm trying to find it because it says I clicked on this link and it's supposed to take me to my records, but it didn't. So I'm kind of trying to figure it out.
Okay. So what you're probably going to see when you log in to GoDaddy, and just let me catch everybody up, because I see that Daryl joined. Hey, Daryl, how you doing? Wanted to go ahead and identify what it is that we're doing. So a lot of us are having issues, or have had issues. If you have your own domain name for your business and you find that you're not able to send out emails to a particular email service provider like Yahoo, Gmail, Outlook, so on and so forth, it's not uncommon that you don't have the right records on your domain. There's a direct correlation to what's on your domain, in your records for your domain, and your ability to deliver email to everybody. So that's what we're going through, the technical aspects of that. Now, bear with me. I know I'm a brother, but I've been through a few educational things. My head's big. I'm highly intellectual. I use big words by default. I think I blame it on Malcolm X, though, because I remember I watched that movie when I was young, and he said people that cuss don't have a high vocabulary. So I started replacing a high vocabulary for cuss words. So bear with me. You get to know that about me. But I'm cool. I'm cool nonetheless. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the technical breakdown of why you're not getting your emails in the inbox, right? Either they're going to end up in the spam or in the promotions tab or in the junk folder. You want to, there's a way to get around that. And the way you get around that is by putting the right records on your domain. So I got Veronica going through the task of putting that together. So what I think I could possibly do, and let me see if I can do this without exposing myself to the world, because let me see if I can log into my domain. I personally use Namecheap because it's easy to use. It's not so, there's not a lot of assumptions that are made for me. And because I come from a technical background, it makes it a little easier for me to be able to jump in and do what I need to do without getting confused by all the assumptions that are made for me. I can program it the way I want to program it. But let me see if I can jump into a domain that I use, that I don't use. We can talk about this.
So I realize where I have the problem. Even though it's telling me what I need to add, it's not taking me directly to my record so I can add that line.
Okay, got it. So what you need to do then, when you log in, under your name, you should see under the drop down, it should say My Products.
Okay.
And you go click on My Products. And then after you go to My Products, then you should be able to see where you'll have a domain name. You should see DNS, right? It should be on the right-hand side. And then after that, you'll see another link that says, or another thing that says Manage DNS. Yeah. And DNS stands for Domain Name System, or some people would say Domain Name Server.
Bear with me.
No problem.
Because I have three domains for three different things, but for this one, I'm trying to find it. And it's not showing. Manage all. Let me see.
So I'll go ahead and I'll share my screen for those that want to see what an SPF record looks like. So let me go ahead and start.
So quick question.
Yeah.
So I am not using my domain for emails. I mean, I have one. I've got a .media, but so is this something that's you're about to go over something that I'm not needing, or
It depends, bro. Because if you are, you know, if you're using your email, or I put it like this: if you ever need to send an email out, like if you need to send out a contract, and you want to use your
Right.
professional email address, like Daryl at dancingintherain.media, right? And you noticing that a lot of people are saying that I'm not getting that email from you, then the problem is your records in your domain. Like, and and as soon as I get done with this part, I'm gonna try to help Veronica out in the meantime.
okay?
We're going to talk about why it's important to have these records in there, because if you keep getting bounced in your if people keep on reporting your email as junk, then you could lose your whole domain. So even displaying your portfolio, displaying your offering is going to be threatened. So we're going to talk about that in detail, and probably a little bit more detail. I probably gave it all away right there.
Okay.
Blew my
So I
surprise.
have a question because,
Yes.
obviously things can't be simple on my end. So my domain is not hosted on GoDaddy anymore. I had transferred it to Wix, but I bought Veronica at my website name,
Through
the
GoDaddy.
email
Right.
address through
So
GoDaddy. So
this-
where would I find that now?
So yeah, this is great. I'm glad you brought this up. Now this is a different. This bridges off into a different area, because now since you use Wix, Wix does what's called a name server hosting, right? So now they've taken over the name server, and now it technically belongs to GoDaddy, but it really belongs operationally every day belongs to Wix now. So now we got to go a different route. So I'm definitely gonna have to link up with you after the fact because that's gonna take a little bit longer. And I'm not gonna hold you. That's why I don't use Wix for real. That's because of that. But
To be fair, because I don't want it to go out
yeah,
there like, oh my
yeah,
God. No, to be fair, it's because I've never had to do what I've done before. So I've used GoDaddy for 15 years.
yeah,
That's how long I've been dabbling.
yeah.
But Wix really is a lot simpler for
It
what
is.
I need.
It is.
Right. So not to say no, that's the reason why I made the change. However, I started off with GoDaddy.
Yeah.
Just want to put that out there.
I've been down through all of them. I've been through Wix, Squarespace, WordPress. I'm a software engineer. I built my own websites, all that jazz. And yeah, there's just certain Wix is great because it allows you the ability to have really compelling and visually pleasing designs. But on the technical side of things, it gets a little bit restricting, especially for people like me. But for people that are not me, it's a great tool. So let me go ahead and share my screen. I'll show you what this looks like. All right, let's get out of here. I'm kind of new to. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm kind of new with OBS. Tell me if I can. I'm not OBS, but Discord. Oh, I got permission issues. All right. So bear with me. Anybody got any questions so far? Any other questions? All right. All right. So let me go back and try to share again. Share my screen. All right. So all right, it's giving me some permission issues. Let's see. I can do it through. See if I can do it through OBS. Anybody here familiar with OBS?
Yep.
What you know about OBS, Daryl? Tell them about it.
Are you using it now, trying to work your way through it?
No, I know how to use it, but I'll just for the sake of the conversation, for those that don't know OBS.
Oh, I got you. I got you. Oh yeah, man. OBS, man, just I think it's probably one of the widest because it's open source used streaming and recording platforms that's out right now. It's constantly being upgraded by all sorts of folks due to the open nature or open it being open. Yeah, it was a great find for me. All sorts of programming stuff, programming video wise, like doing shows. It's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it is pretty dope. So, all
One
right.
of the things I love about OBS is the plugins you can get for it that allow you some advanced controls to switch between different videos, animations, things of that nature. There's a whole plugin market for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's so much, man. I walked into a guy at a theater house, and he's running OBS instead of a typical expensive system, running all their video, all of his plug-in stuff, external videos to go on the walls, all sorts of stuff. He's using NDI. Um, um, Yeah, it's huge.
All right, so I'm having a little bit of hard time showing displaying my screen right now. I might have to log out of Discord and then come back in, but I don't want to do that. So we're going to just talk about what it is that is going on. So because it's not allowing me to share my screen. Because when I go to share my screen, it just basically says that I don't have permissions to do that. So let's go back to here. Let's go. All right. There we go.
Are you trying to share an app?
Yeah. It says screen share permissions.
I always
Warning
have
that
problems with it.
the app doesn't have permissions to record your screen. So I'm gonna
It's that particular app, right?
It's that particular. Yeah. It's Discord saying Discord doesn't have permissions.
So
So
it's probably in your settings then, right?
it is in my
Your
settings.
actual computer settings.
But it wants me to shut down and reboot. So in order for me to have permissions to take. So we're not going to do that. But I could tell you, I can show you. How can I show you this? Let me go here. And I'll try to show it through OBS, which means I'm going to lose some of my screen. But let's try it this way. Let's go to the next screen capture. All right, screen capture 2. All right, and we're gonna go here. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yep.
You can see this white screen, Namecheap.
Yep.
Okay, so this is for a domain that I hardly use. I bought it for parking purposes. thelawofclients.com. Now in the SPF, this is what an SPF record looks like in real life. So all it is a text record that you have the host at, and then v equals SPF include dot SPF EW, all this type of stuff, right? All this would yes, edit blocked. All this would work if I just got rid of this, just the v equals SPF, and then I put in my like I can put in Xavier at the traffic link. And then that would work, right? I can get rid of all this other stuff, right? And then, or put the IP address in that I'm currently using. So that would probably look like, let me pull up chat. So here, so this is what, and this is where I love using Chat GPT. I have a friend of mine that calls it Brett. And I think that's hilarious. But here's what Brett would say: the V equals SPF1, IP address is this, and then you include. So that you see that being replicated here, right? I'm gonna go ahead and close out of here. So you see this include spf.efwd.registrarservers.com. And then the tilde, which is that squiggly line right there, and then all. So that's basically including everything. So then your DMARC would be this right here. The V is the version DMARC 1. The permissions equal reject, and then I have to forget what the RUA equals, but then you want to mail to, and then you put in your domain name here. So this for me would be Xavier at report. So I can just copy this right here, and I would just put this into my new records right here as a text record. Right, so I put the text record in. I put it in at hosts, and then the DMARC would be this. And then I just put the DMARC report mail to Xavier at trafficlink.com. Now, I'm going through all this trouble because, and I'm going to probably go back and reread, but this is just for example purposes. I'm going through all these problems and all these troubles to explain this, because if you don't do this part right and somebody flags your domain as a spam domain, if it's done enough times, right? Then what you're gonna the problem that you're gonna have is that you could potentially lose all your business. How many of us right now are using our domain names for our business? I mean, I'm pretty sure that everybody here is. And what the problem with that is that the Daryl, can you mute? The problem with it is that we don't want to we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. If we just deal with the issue of just getting the proper records, we don't have to worry about losing our whole domain. Because imagine you build up all this brand loyalty over the course of years, and then now you start to engage in email marketing, or now you start to engage in emailing people more frequently, and then you get spammed because you get marked as spam because they keep rejecting you because you don't have the right records, and then you potentially could lose your whole business and you have to start all over again, or your business could be damaged and you have to let people know where they can find you at, depending how deep into your marketing game you are or how deep into your business history you are. So you could possibly lose everything. So then with that being said, that's going to wrap up the technical side of this office hours. We're going to go into the more fun side now, and what I consider the fun side, and talk to Mr. Naito, Josh, and we're going to talk about content creation and apparently how to add claps to our presentation. So, all right.
That was me. Thank you. It was really informative though. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, and make sure you stay
That
around
was-
too. If you have a couple minutes, I want to do a screen share so we can get this knocked out. We should be able to get it knocked out fairly fast. All right, Josh.
That's crazy that you got like sound effects and stuff to Discord.
Yeah.
And this
Yeah.
is why we can't have nice things, Josh. This is why.
That was perfect timing, Justin.
Yes. So, all right.
Yeah.
So with that being said, we're going to transition. If nobody has any questions around the domain email deliverability and domain records, then we'll transition to it. However, if anybody here, if you feel like this is something that you want to do, but you don't have the time to do it, you can hire me to do the work for you, and I'll do the work for you to get it set up. Just reach out to me after the fact, or reach me at the traffic link on pretty much all socials. I'm most active on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, and you can find me there. Or you can just email me, Xavier@thetraffic.link, and I'll respond back there as well. So, with that being said, go ahead. The floor is yours. Or let me ask a question
Cool.
before you get started, Keith. Did you have anything that you wanted to add to this conversation? Because you are the co-host.
All right. Well, no, I think from a technical perspective, the key things that you said are the issues that most people aren't doing on their DNS records, and they're just assuming their emails are going to go, and their headers are the headers that the human beings aren't looking at aren't right, and it's causing deliverability issues. And especially with Google and Yahoo cracking down on people using their Gmail account as their business marketing account, it's causing people problems that they didn't realize were an issue.
Yeah. Hey, can you do me a favor?
I have a
too?
question.
Can you pull your microphone down, Keith? Because it's kind of muffled. Is your microphone?
Is that better?
Yes, that's better. Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah.
That's better?
Yeah, that's way
Okay.
better. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question. You mentioned that people are being looked at for using their Gmail account, but Google, aren't they promoting a business sphere space, which has the Gmail account, right? So aren't they trying to integrate that?
Right. So I guess I might be able to answer this one. So a domain at the end of your email is even good in the sense of like business credit, right? It kind of shows for a lot of people, even in our interactions, that we're serious about our business. I guess in the nonprofit space that you're in, Veronica, it's not that crazy necessary, especially since a lot of what you do is connection based. But for someone to find you and for you to do outbound, there's a lot of things that could be enhanced by doing this.
Oh,
I
I
think it.
totally agree. This is why I have a .com. So I've invested in the
Mhm.
website, and I have Veronica at .com. Right. I
Right.
mean, not Veronica at, but I was just mentioning the um, what Keith had mentioned, of us of having the Gmail and people are cracking down. But I, not that I've done it, and maybe this is why I don't know, but I thought that Gmail and Google Worksphere or Workspace were
Workspace,
working
yeah.
one together. They're being one is working together. So is that not the case? Because I
So
don't use that.
right. If we look at the model of Google as a business, they make money off of Workspace. So if you're making money off Google, they probably want to make money off of you. And if we think about it like that, wouldn't they want to promote people that are giving them money? And I guess that's the best way I can explain it. One of the ways that you can get a Google Workspace for free is Squarespace because they're partnered with Google and they give a free domain email for the first or Workspace account for the first, I believe, year. So I think for a lot of new businesses, that's a good option. Um, but definitely, if you are planning to be a long-term business, you want to work on your business credit, you want to work on becoming a legitimate business, that's one of those things that can help to establish you as a credible entity versus a garage business.
Right. Yeah. So so at the end of the day, we just want to make sure that we're doing our best to protect that entity because it has so many different implications, right? And having the proper domain set up or having the proper records can ensure it can be one step further down the line to ensure that you're doing the things necessary so you don't lose your history, lose your business, lose your credibility, and all the other things to go along with it. So, all right. Any other questions, comments that we gonna put in on this? Justin, I had nothing to say. Justin's
Yeah.
eating. All right. All right.
So specifically, Veronica, just in case I wasn't clear, Google Workspace allows you to have a custom branded domain, even though it's a Google email. Does that make sense? So it's a Google email, but it's not a Gmail email. It's at veronica.com.
Right.
I understand. Like I said, I've never
Okay.
down that road, so I didn't realize that that's how they were doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a longer conversation. I think I had to take up a whole nother office hours in and of itself. So, but yeah, they definitely use Gmail to help you establish your workspace. But I don't know. This is my first time hearing about their preferred email. But if that's the case, then I understand it.
Yeah. Yeah. What they're saying is that, and this is the most recent stuff out of Google in the last like 2 months or less, is, and there's what I've heard. I haven't seen any of the Yahoo documents, but what I've heard is that Yahoo is saying the same thing. They want business emails to come from a branded domain. If the content of a business transactional email is coming from a Gmail, Google feels I'm adding my own interpretation if I say what I was about to say. So the bottom line is you need to send your business emails from a branded domain, whether you're using Google Workspace or whether you're using whatever other email hosting service you're doing. Google Workspace is a Google-owned service. It's not Gmail. you have to have just like you have to have a Gmail account to log into and manage your Google Business profile, you need a Gmail to log into your Google Workspace, but the email that you send from your Google Workspace will be your branded domain.
That makes sense. That makes sense to me. Okay. You went mute, Keith. I don't know if you.
So I had my camera off while I was talking, and then I was muted while I had my camera on.
Yeah.
So my bad. I apologize.
No problem. All right. So with that being said, it's really important. We can almost write out the rest of the minutes talking about how important it is to making sure that you have the right records. But these are things that a lot of people don't think about, especially small business owners and people that are getting started. They're like, okay, well, what's going on? And this is the technical side of the things that I like to bring to the table, because we're all in marketing, but these are the technical parts of marketing. Like what Josh is getting ready to talk about was what I consider like top of funnel activity. Where I get really strong is in the middle and bottom of the funnel, right? The down and dirty, dirt in your fingernails type of work that a lot of people don't know that goes on. And it's oftentimes, I like to say, we always think about the forward movement, or we think about going forward, but we forget about what happens when things go wrong and what are your plans and how to diagnose those things. This is one of those things where things start to go wrong. Having the knowledge will put you in a place where you know what to do next, and not get in a place where you're like, oh my God. And then you start to freak out. So with that being said, we got 18 more minutes. I want Josh to go ahead and jump off into some content creation, because he was going to be my second person today that I wanted to bring in and highlight, talk about that. So I don't really know what he's going to talk about. So if you see him just get booted off the Discord server, it was me. I'm gonna just own it right now. So, all right.
I'll try to watch my mouth and not tell all your dirty laundry. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Be careful with that, bro. Be careful with that. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so I'm Josh. I help business owners create like personal brand equity through organic video content. And the goal of that content is to help bring piping hot leads into their sales pipeline. A lot of times, so I said this actually in Justin's Discord group. I said, content is the side effect of documenting authenticity. And a lot of times as business owners, we're very good at talking. We're very good at talking, but we tend to not record. It's a red button on your camera. So even for this and what I'm talking about right now, I have the ability to, instead of talking to 5 people here on this Discord, I have the ability to then redistribute that to another 1,000 people, another 10,000 people, or whoever I can. And we, as business owners, we miss out on that opportunity. Now, when it comes down to branding your personal brand and branding your content, a lot of times it has to do with who we are and what our expertise is and leaning into those fields. The reason why I want to help business owners is because a lot of these people have been doing 20, 30 years of building their business, building their expertise and skill sets, and no one knows about it. They may have qualifications, education, and skill sets, but at the end of the day, if they're not on social media, no one knows about it. It's like if you had your wall of achievements and trophies on your mantle, but you don't invite anybody to your house.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Daryl, just for my sake, so I can understand who I'm talking to, what industry are you in? Because I've met everybody else.
I'm in a video production space.
Oh, perfect.
Programming, podcast, shows, and conventions and all that stuff.
Cool. Mostly live?
It's a mix. Mostly, yeah, I'd say mostly live.
Cool. Us video guys, we're actually some of the worst at this. Getting on camera, we're so comfortable behind the camera. So this is actually really perfect that you're on, and I'll probably pull from some of your expertise later on in the conversation. Yeah, so from there, a lot of times we get so focused on the numbers of content creation, but at the end of the day, if we choose a different metric, it becomes a lot easier to create content. It can almost become natural by choosing a different metric to attempt to create content for. For example, if I create content for my sales pipeline and I use the things that I talk about in my consultations in my content, that can create a talking point that isn't just about creating content, right? And also, it takes so much effort, so why not make something that kills two birds with one stone, right? So if I can make a video that educates people on what I do. So, for example, let's take, who should I use? Since, what's that called? Keith and Xavier are in the automation business. If we can talk about the problems that are solved through the functions of our softwares, through the functions of our automations that we would normally explain to a client anyways, right? We can also, when a client sends us a problem, use what we've already documented and save us another 30 minutes of our time to an hour plus, right? To fix their problem in a way that says, hey, dude, I'm prepared. I got this. I got you. Here, watch this. I created this. It will explain to you exactly what you need to do to fix your problem. And that will already create trust because it's like not it's not even something where you just researched it off the cuff and gave them the solution because you know how to find the answer. It's like, no, I knew this answer 5 years ago. Here's a video from 5 years ago where I'm teaching people how to do this thing. And we're able to create this personal brand equity in a way that sets us up so that when we do jump on these sales calls, they're ready. They've decided that we are the expert even before they've jumped on a call with us. And we don't even know them because they haven't made their own content either, right? So we're able to ask these questions in a certain light that a person who's on a two-way sales call, it's almost like this fight between you and the other person where it's like, why should I trust you? Why should I trust your company? Why should I trust your product? But if you've been talking about it on your content for the last 5 years, on top of that, they've been watching you for the last 6 months, the sales process becomes, okay, cool. Yes, I agree with that. And it becomes a order taking process versus a, I need you to trust me, high pressure sales process. And a lot of us feel really good about being educators versus being salesy.
Consultant versus being a flat out salesperson. High pressure sales versus consultative approach.
Right. And I think a big reason why I've been able to come to this conclusion is because of Ignite U. That networking group that most of us go to has given me a perspective on how well people are able to speak. And it's crazy because the second we turn on a camera, it becomes deer in headlights. When we're able to jump even on these Zoom calls and talk in a very eloquent way.
Right.
So it's crazy that we put this mental block in front of us that says, oh, I can't make content. Oh, I freeze up on camera.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a good point. Like even even this is gonna be, somebody might look at this what we're doing as a production, but really it's just documentation, because not only is it gonna be a portfolio piece for me, I guess, or a prove it piece for me, but it also is gonna be an educational piece for somebody else, because this is being recorded and then I'm gonna push it out on YouTube, and then we'll be able to take pieces of this at later times, use it for content, and then also be able to use it to educate. So this is what I do. This is how I solve my clients' problems in real life. And these are the kind of conversations, the office hours is like opening up that opportunity. And just like you're saying, this creates the content, and it shows the authenticity. You see how I really move, how I really talk, how I really do things and I'm just documenting, and as a result, boom, we got another piece of content that's really going to turn into about 20 pieces of content after an hour worth of recording. So
So you touched on some very good things. You said people might think this is a whole production, right? And a lot of times, if we come onto camera in a certain way, right, it becomes like a suit. If you wear a three-piece suit to a meeting, someone's gonna be like, "Wow, you're like overdressed." But it's never a bad thing,
yeah,
right? If you're overdressed and you're just dressed up to the nines, like that's great. That's wonderful. And at the same time, when you walk in dressed like that, everybody watches you. You become the expert in the room. You become the person of interest. And that's what happens when we have higher quality video. That's what happens when we have higher quality audio. In comparison to a person who's coming in there with their computer or iPhone quality audio or with a certain um, level of production quality, that becomes our suit. That becomes the pretense of why we should listen to that person. And having a platform like a podcast then becomes the reason why you should listen to them, right? Because at the end of the day, let's say Xavier over here was doing this in the privacy of this group. It would never get out to people. People wouldn't know what he knows. People wouldn't know the expertise that he can bring to the table and his ingenuity and his creativity. It's kind of like yelling in your bathroom.
I want to put a little
And
something on right there. I want to put a bookmark. I want to stamp this section right here because you said something real smooth. You kind of went right over it, and I think this is something that Daryl can jump in on. Even is that quality matters, and quality comes from quality equipment, right? And if in a world of small differentiators and a world of small things that mean a lot, having a good quality microphone, having a good quality camera, or at least one that shoots in 1080p, it matters, right? And so having a good equipment set is going to mean a world of difference as you progress. Now, I will caveat that by saying start with what you got. Some people don't even know that you can use your iPhone as an external webcam, and you can leverage the high resolution back camera as a webcam. So that's what that is. So I wanted to make sure I stamped that because you said it so smooth that I want somebody to catch that. I want you to catch that having quality equipment, even when you're not trying, will come off as you really do care, or you're establishing yourself as an expert, right? Like your camera, your microphone and my microphone, two different microphones. We're both creating the same content, but your microphone is built for broadcast, right? And you're using it in a podcast. This microphone is built for podcasting, and it doesn't have all the considerations built into it to give me that tight, crispy voice that's super compressed, and it doesn't deal with probably all the plosives, all the p's and all the those words and vowels that come out your mouth really forceful, as well as that one does, right?
how's it doing, by the way?
That's great.
Because this is only the second time I've used this.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. But I'm gonna open up the floor to Daryl, and Daryl can talk about equipment, sound quality, and video quality as it relates to creating content, and in what you get when you add a higher level of quality, and what it does for you. So,
Thanks, but yeah, I don't know how much more I can add than what you just said. It's just that's just the golden ticket, the quality, and like your caveat says, use what you have, and really know what you have, because sometimes you can get the quality that you need out of the equipment that's just less known about too. Like you mentioned, the iPhone. There's iPhone attachments that has people. There's motion pictures that's being made with iPhones, iPhone 8, for to be exact. Um, did a production movie. They had some, of course, some attachment lenses on it and some other things like that, but it wasn't a $20,000 or $30,000 Ari camera, right? And they
Right.
still got it done, but yeah. So just knowing your product is really most key, and then just building on top of that, and just leveling up when you can.
Yeah. And
Is,
I would
is,
say
is, is key.
on the back end of that, I would say know your output. That's the biggest thing. Know what you want to do with what you're trying to create. That's going to help you dictate the type of type of equipment you want to get to create the kind of content you want to produce, or the kind of content you want to end up with. So knowing that, like for instance, if I was singing, I wouldn't use this podcast mic, right? And if I knew that I wanted people to know how well I sing, I wouldn't necessarily use this podcast mic. I would use a different mic, right? I wouldn't even necessarily use the one that Josh is using, because it probably is not going to do as well for people that are big belters.
Probably get a Newman or something.
Exactly. Right. You change it up because you know that the output, you know your output, you know what your end result is. And that goes back to one of my favorite sayings. Stephen Covey says, highly effective people, like people that really make it and are successful, always start with the end in mind. So that's I can almost end this whole thing right there. Start with the end in mind, right? When you talk about domain authority, you talk about protecting your domain, email deliverability, then you want to start with the end in mind. Start with knowing that I'm going to use this domain to email people, so I need to make sure that I have the right records in place. You're going to create content for the purposes of posting on social media, so I need to get this type of equipment and know what the output's going to be. That's going to help you dictate what your input's going to be. And that's how I think that's almost a universal law across life in general. If you know you want to retire at 65, don't start saving when you're 45. Start saving when you're 25, right? You always start with the end in mind. And so with that being said, I got 3 more minutes left in the clock in this office hours. I'm just going to open it up really quick for anybody that has any questions. That can be questions from the hosts. That can be questions for people that are just listening in. Now's the time to go ahead and get those questions asked. All right. So with that being said, we don't have anybody ask any questions. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it right here. This is Xavier. I'm the Traffic Link. Thank you very much for dropping in on our office hours where we discuss the technical parts of marketing and how we can make it do what it needs to do over the course of time without having any problems or any situations. I want to thank you guys all for dropping in. Don't forget to show up next week for office hours. I will be doing office hours from Arizona, more than likely. Stay tuned. I am going to be in a wedding, going to attend a wedding that day. So my office hours may or may not have to shift. But thank you very much for joining in. Okay, Veronica has one last question that she wants to ask.
Yes, I do. I'm so sorry.
Salutations.
A client called and I had to take it. But do you have these recordings somewhere where I can go back and, maybe look at past history? Like, you could be answering a whole bunch of questions and I don't even know it.
Yeah. So we're going to be posting these. These are all going to be on YouTube. And then that's how I'm addressing people right now. I'm assuming right now I'm talking to the people that are watching the replay. And we're going to have these are going to be hosted on YouTube on my channel, the Traffic Link. You can find it. It's a logo, looks like a blue link with a red and a green dot in the middle, and it says Traffic Link. You can find it there. This is where we're going to be hosting all of our episodes going forward. And we got, from time to time, we may have some office hours that are just too much personal information to share out to the public. And I respect that. In that case, we're going to have a place to host those privately. And those are going to be only released based on permission from the participants in the office hours. But by and large, most all the office hours are going to be put on YouTube. Don't forget that I also have a podcast. Our podcast is called The Problem, Profit, and the Link Podcast. And it can also be found on YouTube and on all your platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all the places. You can go there and find the podcast there. And the purpose of that podcast is to highlight the business owners that I work with, and we talk about their origin stories, the problems they solve, and how they link those problems how they link to profits. And that's what the whole purpose of the podcast is. Really great episodes coming up. I have about 6 or 7 of them that's in the coffers that are getting ready to be released starting tomorrow. And you're going to start to see some of the local people around me that are very sharp, intelligent people that really do solve problems, tell their story and talk about how they leverage automation and tools and things like that to help solve these problems that lead them to profit. All right. With that being said, I'm out. I'll see you guys later.